Hello again and welcome to issue 70 of Two-Edged Sword. If you'd like to add or remove your name from the mailing list, email hrministries2@yahoo.com. The website is still suspended and will be for the duration of its contract to February 2017. But Facebook, Hannah Ruth 961 is the location now where all 70 issues to date are located. If you're on Facebook, it's easy peasy. Just tap into my Facebook page there, Hannah Ruth 961. I really recommend that you join up with Facebook if you're not already a member, because it's a very user friendly service, and it's free. And if you're not on Facebook, you can still access the scanned newsletter. Each newsletter is available by just email me at hrministries2@yahoo.com, and I can give you the link to be able to go in to get the Facebook, and I can give it to you on Word documents, which if you're on the mailing list, you will be receiving it by digital copy anyway. Really good news heralded in the editorial for this edition, where in issue 69 I said about how my ABN number for Hannah Ruth Ministries had been axed by the Australian Business Register. So I sent them a letter. I had received two letters, one telling me I'm in business, and 2 days later getting one saying that I'd been axed. So I wrote to them and said, please clarify, am I in business or not? And so I've received a letter, which I'm really rejoicing about, because it's, I made it clear I'd be pressing on anyway, regardless of a government number or not. But naturally, you don't want to be losing ground. So any pressing forward, any victory at all is good news as far as I'm concerned. So it is business as usual for Hannah Ruth Ministries. My Facebook post of the 10th of May, after I received my letter, was just to let everybody know it's same old, nothing has changed. So HRM is back in business. I've just now emailed my tax consultant to let him know he can expect to see me same old, in accordance with a letter received today from Australian Business Register stating, we have received your objection dated 9th of March 2016 to the cancellation of your Australian business number ABN. We have considered your circumstances and decided you are entitled to an ABN as you are carrying on an enterprise. We have reinstated your ABN in the Australian Business Register. You will be issued with a new certificate of registration within the next 7 to 10 days. So that was a nice unexpected surprise, as I've said there, because I was sort of prepared to let the number go, but I made it clear, well, I'll just call it Sola Scriptura then in place of the ABN number, and call it Hannah Ruth's Ministry in place of Hannah Ruth Ministries. But as it is my business name, my official business name is still up and running. So carry on. The second excellent piece of news there in the editorial, which I'm really happy to do my small part to send the good news of the gospel here of testimony to the ends of the earth, because we overcome the devil by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So on Cliff Richard's behalf, I would love to share his testimony of victory, that he has been exonerated, where the Crown Prosecuting Service found that there was no evidence really that they could press any charges against him. So he has been exonerated. I really enjoyed reading the articles on Google when I Googled internet there, and seeing it going out across the face of the earth in all the different languages, because his name had been sullied in all those different countries. So it's only right that, the news has now taken it out where they're saying, no charges to be laid. So at this time, while I'm recording this video, Cliff Richard is in Wimbledon enjoying the tennis matches, enjoying his liberty of all access areas, and, doing his normal routine. But I considered how he would really be seeing the world through different eyes now, because he will be really enjoying watching Wimbledon from his position of liberty, shining his light in, all the cameras are on him, sort of thing. So he is a shining light in a dark and perverse generation. But compared to if corruption had prevailed, he would now be watching, or possibly be watching, Wimbledon from a TV screen in a jail cell. And yet he was an innocent man. That was my real grief, why I had to press in. I've not had anything to say about Bill Crosby or Rolf Harris or, Michael Jackson types, because they were found to be, mucking around to some extent. And so people reap what they sow, and just, I know how men are, sort of thing. So I can't really vouch for the average Joe. But this was my grief, was that Cliff Richard is unique. He's not your average Joe, and he's an innocent Christian man. So this was the other point, was that it was God's name being used, and you know, it was like an attempt to up the stakes of gunning a Christian now, a celibate Christian man who's got a good name, has done for all these decades, and then you know, to be playing this game of who can we next gun, let's go the celibate Christian sort of thing. So you know, I had to do my part to not turn a blind eye and just sit back and watch it happen, because you know, it's not entertainment. Like I said in issue 69, it's pretty sinister stuff when, if corruption was to carry that, because I mean, you see how the media will cause the masses to do like a cattle stampede, where they'll be going in one direction and next thing the whole lot of them are stampeding in the other direction. And, you know, that was what it was looking like would happen with an innocent man. And I thought, this is really bad news. So I've done my little part, and I'm really rejoicing that I can now, you know, as I've said, I've quoted a few scriptures here that where I've said they picked on the wrong man when they picked on a member of the body of Christ. Because if one member suffers, all the members suffer with it. Or if one be honoured, all the members rejoice with it. So I, as a member of the body of Christ, and, you know, so many others in the body of Christ, were really rejoicing on June 16 when his name was cleared. And like I've also quoted scriptures here, it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. Therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardeneth. For not he that commendeth himself is approved, but whom the Lord commendeth. So Cliff Richard is commended of the Lord to be able to enjoy his liberty and continue shining his light to a watching world. So go, bro. As I've said, issue 69 is a part 2. Issue 70 is a part 2 to issue 69. So I recommend reading issue 69 again to refresh your memory there. I bought this set of, this is the 10-hour DVD set of They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll, produced by Good Fight Ministries. I really recommend getting hold of that from Good Fight Ministries at www.goodfight.org. That's the 10-hour version. There is a 3-hour condensed version, but really that 10-hour version is well worth getting hold of. That inspired me to write issue 69, dealing with the music side of what is being promulgated by the Church of Satan agenda, and Aleister Crowley's, you know, he died in 1947, but his legacy is being carried on through the likes of Charles Manson and the Church of Satan that was founded in 1966 by Anton LaVey. And they've got a lot of rock musicians, and they're using the arts in general, TV and the media, and you know, actors and singers and whatnot, to really put their debauchery out there and to twist the minds and just brainwash the masses. And, you know, it's scary to see on the DVDs where the you know, thousands of people cram in to watch some ghoul on a platform singing praises to Satan. I mean, it's brazen, really brazen, with the overt side of things being put out there by the show ponies and the puppets that are on the stages. But that was issue 69, dealing with what we see, you know, as consumers watching TV and being entertained, so-called. So issue 69 was all about the overt side of it, but issue 70 is now dealing with the covert side of it, the behind the scenes, where I've transcribed from disc 3 of the 4-disc set there, interviews that were done with two members of the Church of Satan. One is actually the son-in-law to the founder of the Church of Satan. Nicholas Schreck is the son-in-law to Anton LaVey. He's married to Lena LaVey. And there was an unnamed musician. So I've quoted what they've said, and I think it's good to read it on this video for those who don't read the newsletter, but are happy to look and listen more through videos. So this is what we need to be aware of, that there is a definite, deliberate agenda by the Church of Satan to change the moral fibre of society totally. They are trying to promote sodomy, and which Aleister Crowley was very much into. He boasted that he wanted to, seduce the boys of England, and also the go America sort of thing, and they are succeeding. I mean, look at what is now put as family entertainment, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. These sort of shows are deliberately trying to undermine holy matrimony and the family, because families produce holy seed, which is God's inheritance. So therefore the Church of Satan want to totally abolish, they call the Christian faith filth. As far as they're concerned, the world would be better off without the Christian faith. They are after making an elite society, and they're happy to kill off any weak, frail people, especially we of the Christian faith. So I'll read these 3 particular interview quotes that I've transcribed, taken pains to transcribe here from the DVDs, because you need to hear what is going on. Like I put a Facebook post on Cliff Richard's page and said on his Facebook page after he was exonerated, and just said, be very careful, and I've quoted parts of excerpts of these interviews to show that they are seizing the media. This is why it makes perfect sense of why the industry that Cliff finds himself in now is very different to what the more innocent arena that he started out in 1957. It's because it's being hijacked by these Satanists that have their minions anywhere where power can be wielded. So from the horse's mouths, Nicholas Schreck, son-in-law to Anton LaVey, who was the Church of Satan founder in 1966, Nicholas Schreck points to a black and white circle, a symbol of the Church of Satan. He says, this black and white circle is the symbol of the Church of Satan, and I think some people may be familiar with the swastika, which is the symbol of the Black Order in Germany, very much inspirations to our work. And I think it's important to recognise National Socialism as one of the few times in the 20th century that humanity's full potential has been unleashed. The predatory instinct, the beast in man, was fully unleashed in man in that period. The Sharon Tate murder, when Charles Manson's family went and murdered a bunch of people, the Sharon Tate murder was a symbolic representation of the end of an entire way of thought, of compassion for the weak, peace for its own sake, pacifism that breeds stagnation. That entire way of thinking was finally destroyed on the 8th and 9th of August 1969, and that is why we chose this evening to perform a ritual of cleansing and of purification. I think Friedrich Nietzsche is one of the great things of our time, Charles Manson certainly, Adolf Hitler. So they're all for these murderous psychopaths, and in fact there are members of the Church of Satan in prison at this time for murdering people. So they're not playing games, they mean business. They want to their own little elite society, and they're happy to get rid of and murder whoever is not with them, and is they're very few that they actually want on board. They just want the strongest of the strong sort of thing, survival of the fittest. An unnamed musician who's a member of the Church of Satan, I've quoted him, transcribed from the DVD set there. I'm a member of the Church of Satan, and I'm a musician, and I've written a few books, and what we did this evening was a ritual. Anton was saying the other night, he was saying Satanism is coming out of the ritual chamber and into the mainstream. And I think that's what we're doing, trying to bring that message to a broader audience. Particularly, it's what appeals to us about the SS or the Nazis, and what we feel we have in common with it is order, bringing things back to order. Me personally, Hitler was he was an occultist trying to bring about a pagan revival. He was completely against the whole Judeo-Christian ethic, and he was bringing that to an end and bringing something new forward. And I feel that's what we're doing today. I think the Church of Satan is creating real changes. We have people behind the scenes. We have people in high places who are making changes that people aren't even aware of. These nitwits that just go out and kill people in the name of Satan are serving a purpose in that they're thinning down the population. But, they would actually like to get rid of them too, because they've just got a purpose to serve. But once they've helped thin down the population, they're happy to get rid of those too, because they consider them just brainless meatheads sort of thing. Another transcribed quote here from Nicholas Schreck, the son-in-law of the Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey. So Nicholas Schreck, we were both corresponding with Charles Manson, and basically it was Manson who introduced us, so our work certainly continues his legacy to a degree. going to be moving so fast that, as I said, the average human being is not going to be able to comprehend what's going on around them. We're seizing control of the media. We have scientists working for us. We have people in every field, intelligent, competent, ambitious people who have no guilt, who have no shame, and who have removed the filthiness of the Judeo-Christian ethic from their entire lifestyle. And when that happens, the power that is released from that, it's going to change the world. What's happening right now is a process where the weak are falling off. There is a death wish in the human race that's expressing itself in mass murder and all sorts of manifestations, and we encourage that. We would like to see most of the human race killed off. We are forming an elite. This is the first step in forming really a master race. That's the only term I can use. We have no concern for the masses, and as I said, that's why these people are so misguided in their fears that we would want to have anything to do with them. A perfect world to us would not include most of these people that are so frightened of us, and perhaps our philosophy ultimately will lead to their removal, but in a way that they'll never understand. What's going to hit them is going to hit them so hard that they'll never know what hit them. So, I believe that this is... I believe Cliff Richard was correct in his interview with Gloria Huntingbird, where he said that it's, the blokes up the top that have done this. And, Ephesians 6:12 says, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities in high places. And, from the horse's mouths there with the Satanists, they've got their minions in high places. So, the Christian church has a fierce enemy, but the bottom line is that we have the victory. So I've titled the Bible Before Doctrine, Church of Christ versus Church of Satan, because the promise of Jesus Christ was that he will build his church and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. So even though they do major damage, any war it has major damage. As Cliff said, he doesn't like being collateral damage, but in fact he was collateral damage. Like it or not, we get damaged in the warfare. So, it took me years to get emotional healing after all the damage that I got put through. And I believe that the snare was laid for my feet because I am a child of God, and simply because of whom I represent, what I represent as ambassadors of Jesus Christ, we get tripped up. We get snares laid for us, and if they can destroy us, they will destroy us. But thankfully, people like myself and Cliff Richard and others have come through in victory, where we're able to say, greater is he who lives in us than he who lives in the world. So that's the Bible Before Doctrine essay, is the Church of Christ versus Church of Satan, and just dealing with the behind the scenes of what is going on behind the entertainment industry, where really all these musicians and Satanists and heavy metal bands and whatnot, and punk rock and all that sort of thing is just puppets and pawns being, all the buttons are being pushed and the strings are being pulled by Satanists working behind the scene, and they've got their tentacles all over the face of the earth. And you can see, just look at society in the last 50 years, how it has plummeted into darkness. So it's all signs of the times as prophesied in the scriptures. It's not anything that God wasn't aware of. So this is what I mean, God is in control. So it's not like he doesn't know what's going on, or that he's just fluking his way through trying to make the best of a bad deal here. He gets the victory in the long run. So the Watch and Pray essay I've titled Divine Blessing versus Beast Power Exploitation, and that's about Jacob when he had to go work for his mother, his uncle, his mother's brother, after he diddled Esau, his twin brother, out of his birthright. Esau wanted revenge, so Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother, said, go work for my brother Laban. But Laban was a real scoundrel who basically traded his own 2 daughters off for slave labour to get Jacob working 7 years to marry his daughter Rachel, who he loved. But then after 7 years, Jacob wakes up next to Leah instead, and then Laban says, it's not the thing that we do in this country to give the younger daughter first, so work another 7 years for me and you can have Rachel. So he wound up with Leah and Rachel, plus then those 2 sisters gave him their handmaidens each. So really it was all God's, even though Laban was exploiting for his own gain, it was God's allowing it to happen so that 12 nations could be birthed out of Jacob, because otherwise Jacob might have taken that, what we coin this day and age as, our four and no more. He would have been happy just with Rachel and the 2 children that she bore. But he wound up with 12 sons and 1 daughter. So the 12 nations of Israel were birthed through Jacob, whose name later got changed to Israel. But the point of this divine blessing versus beast power exploitation, the watch and pray essay, is just to point out that Laban kept moving the goalposts. So when Jacob finally left 20 years later, and he'd taken a whole lot of cattle with him and a whole lot of goods, he was a very prosperous, very rich man by the time he parted ways with Laban. And Laban pursued him through the wilderness, but then God warned him in a dream and said, don't you say good or bad to Jacob, he's mine, sort of thing. He's my chosen vessel, so just beware. So thankfully, because Laban was a God-fearing man, he didn't, do any harm to Jacob and his wives. But even the daughters said he sold us. He's prostituted his own daughters for slave labour, sort of thing. Selling us off, and he's devoured our money. So all that wealth that Jacob had come into, really, the daughters said, well, it's ours anyway, sort of thing. So they were happy to, go with Jacob in wanting to depart. So they snuck off in stealth, but Laban caught up with them in the wilderness. But he even still tried to say, I've quoted it here out of the scriptures where, he said, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come now, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for a witness between me and thee. And then I've said, poor chap, he still didn't get it. For all his moving of the goalposts, the blessing was never his to acquire. Because this is the bottom line, is that God's elect people receive the blessing. If we belong to God, Jacob and Esau were both out of the same womb. They were twin brothers. But the Bible clearly says, where God says, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. If it's not that Esau was prejudiced against, it was his heart condition that God already knew about. So that was not anything that God could honour, where Esau was found to be like a profane person who sold his own birthright, treated it so lightly and contemptibly for a meal. Just his belly was his God. He felt hungry, so he sold off his birthright for a meal. So Jacob, he agreed to let Jacob have the upper hand over him. And then, Jacob did come out a very wealthy man after having to go be exploited by Laban for that 20 years of being in exile. But at the end of the day, Jacob was blessed because he was chosen and elect of God. So that's what that essay is about, is that those of us who are blessed, it's like when a snare was laid for my feet, the devil was trying to steal my blessing. But here I am now serving the Lord in a greater capacity than what I could have if I hadn't have gone through what I'd been through. And that's like Cliff Richard. I believe that what he has been through was because of who he represents, and I believe that possibly what he has just come out of the other side of now, he'll probably need to go through a healing process and whatnot, but ultimately it will be a catalyst to whatever God, Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are the called according to his purpose. So what Cliff Richards has been through will serve a greater purpose further down the track, as was my case and as are others that have come through the fires and the deep waters. If God has a plan and a purpose for his people, like Joseph in the Bible, if, God prophesies things over our lives and we are a child of God and we are marked and sealed for a purpose, then, no gates of hell can prevail against that. So the Can You Relate, I've simply said about how, those of us that are elect of God, we are like a rock that will fall on people. If they try to fall on us, it'll turn out that we fall on them and they get crushed about us, sort of thing, because this is a promise of Christ, is that no harm will come to his anointed disciples. If we've got a job to do, then we will have enemies. Isaiah 54:15, they will surely assemble themselves and rise against you, and when they do, it will not be from me, saith the Lord, but all those who rise up against you will fall because of you. And I have found that true over and over. So that Can You Relate box is just basically saying, we've got victory guaranteed. Those of us that are called, anointed and appointed by the Lord Most High, we are the winners. And so I'm basically hoping to reach the hearts and minds of people that are trapped in the Satanist cult, and are hoping that they might see, yeah, these Christians do seem to have an advantage. They are brainwashed to believing that light is dark and dark is light and good is evil and evil is good. But, people like myself and Cliff Richard and other victorious Christians are able to be proof that our God reigns. God is on the throne. Adonai, the Christian God, is the good God of light, and Satan is a deceiver. His time is short. He knows it, so he's trying to take as many down with him before Armageddon and before that final destruction, when he and his angels and all unregenerate unbelievers are tossed into the lake of fire. So I hope you'll find this, as I had one person say to me, that last issue, 69, was the best issue yet. It's been really good reading. So, it is interesting sort of stuff to read, but I hope you'll find it as more than just, thought-provoking and stimulating and sensational sort of reading. I really hope it hits home that this is truth I'm on about. And the reason why I'm going to pains of keep putting this out issue after issue after issue is because it needs to be put out there, because it is the truth. And if it is the truth, then eternal life is in the balances, and from all the signs of the times in place, Christ's return is nigh, even at the door. So, really think about, look at the world around you, see what the entertainment industry is dishing out to you, filth, muck, sewage, and see if that's really the way that you want to go. Because if it is, you don't even know that you've got tomorrow. You might not have next week. We can be cut down so quickly. And, just 2 days ago, I found a little bird out my backyard where it was alive but in a sickly condition. By 10 p.m. it was dead. And I thought about how, I looked at its lifeless eyes and I thought, it had life in it, but now it is dead. And that is like every human being. We have a period of time. This life on earth is our testing ground, but there will come a period of time when our life will expire, and then, there is a time appointed unto man once to die, and after this, the judgment. The unregenerate man shall have the second death when they are tossed into the lake of fire. So, once again, I recommend this. They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll by Good Fight Ministries, www.goodfight.org, if you would like to order that. They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll, the 10-hour version. I really recommend, and I really recommend issue 70, and trust that you'll find it interesting at least. But I do hope that, like I say, you'll really reckon up that this needs to be taken seriously. It's not just, I'm not trying to entertain anybody. I'm not out for votes. I'm not a politician or an entertainer. I'm just a servant of the Lord Most High, and my allegiance is to God alone. That's who I serve. That's where my everything is anchored. In my hope, my everything is anchored in Christ. That's why, it doesn't matter to me what attacks come against the ministry. Obviously, I don't enjoy when people attack this ministry, but I'm in this for the long haul, and I care nothing for consequence or ramifications or that sort of thing, because I know that truth is truth is truth, wrong is wrong is wrong, and I must, as a matter of conscience, and as any Christian of conscience would bear witness, we must take our stand and stand on the promises of God, and not let the devil gain any ground. Give him an inch and he'll take a mile, because he's always constantly trying to get a foothold so that he can get a stronghold. But he won't be doing that with this ministry, because I know, in whom I have placed my faith. So anyway, enjoy, and till issue 71, because it's a sure deal. Boast not thyself of tomorrow, but God willing, issue 71 will be to air in 2 months' time, and Lord knows what that will contain, because this will be the end of this great. They Sold Their Souls for Rock and Roll. It's a 2-part, but next issue will be on to other things. So till next time, God bless.